So apparently, one of my biggest cases that I've made against exclusivity is that the availability of a game is drastically reduced and it can affect the developer and the publisher depending on the circumstances out there. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Today we're going to be talking about these particular parameters. So I started out this video with Hogwarts Legacy on the screen. I actually like to use Hogwarts Legacy footage, but Hogwarts Legacy is a game that pretty much bucks the narrative that games that are multi-platform more than likely will not do well. This is a game that sold over 25 million copies, and I think it made those numbers at the time that they actually captured the sales numbers because it was available on almost every single platform. It launched on PC, PS5, Series X first, and then it moved to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One next, and then we got a Switch release of this game. Availability is a big deal, and I think a lot of publishers are starting to get the memo. So I made a video, I recorded myself fighting a boss in Elden Ring, and I titled the video thumbnail, GOTY, Game of the Year. Now, it prompted one of my audience members to say, well, it's a good game. Elden Ring DLC is good, but they thought that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was going to be Game of the Year. Now, I pushed back and I said, well, the challenge with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, or its challenges, are kind of many, simply because, number one, it just hasn't reached a lot of people. I mean, obviously, the exclusivity is the biggest challenge. And number two, Elden Ring is one of those games where, yes, it's already won its Game of the Year, but it just still has a lot more content and is available to much more people. Now, this is a reality that we're going to continue to see as time goes on, because these 25 million copy bangers will continue to show themselves every so often. I'm not saying that it's going to be happening every year, but it seems like 2022 gave us a 25 million copy game in Elden Ring. 2023 gave us another one with Hogwarts Legacy. Actually, I think it gave us two. Maybe 2022 may have given us two as well with Call of Duty. And as we're moving into 2024, it's not likely that we're probably going to see two of those, but we more than likely will still see possibly another COD one. And even if we don't, because COD is going to Game Pass may see a surge with the people who do not buy the copies of the game. So either way, all of this culminating is a competitive strain on the market, especially for the exclusive games right now that exist on PlayStation and even possibly Nintendo. Now, remember, ladies and gentlemen, on this channel, I told you guys that Nintendo's days are kind of numbered. I remember when I said that, some people were like, well, Nintendo is in their own little bubble. And I was like, well, that bubble ain't going to last so much because the market is changing so heavily. It seems like Xbox has come in with a whole different proposition that is making everybody open their eyes to say, wait, is it possible for a multi-trillion-dollar company to be able to do something like this? Okay, how about the other multi-billion-dollar companies, and what exactly are they doing based on their means and capabilities? And people are starting to see through that Nintendo selling a lot of these games full price, which some of them are just remasters and some of them seem to just not necessarily be games that are innovating. I mean, Zelda is an innovative game in its sense, but they're seeing that these games at $70 price points, regardless of how old they are, may not necessarily be appealing to them. And eventually people's tastes are going to shift if the price points do not necessarily match their hobby of choice. So this is basically the biggest challenge right now that we're going to be seeing in the gaming scene. And honestly, I think the major players and those that are going to really, really catch what I think is a significant audience are those, especially those games, who actually have availability and can make themselves present at the moment that they launch. You see, exclusivity, yes, some have argued for it, but I've always known that this was basically kind of a double-edged sword. The thing with exclusivity is a lot of video games sell based on excitement. So what these publishers and developers have been, basically doing with exclusivity is that they want to use the excitement to, benefit one another. Like, say, in the case of, say, PlayStation or Xbox, they'll go ahead and give money to a developer and say, bring your game to our platform. Like in the case of Tomb Raider with Xbox, and in the case of the, Final Fantasy VII games and even Final Fantasy 16, bring your game to our platform, and so that we're going to give you money and then we're going to have a lot of sales. But that excitement, PlayStation wants to leverage it and Xbox wants to leverage it for people to buy their consoles. However, When the game eventually expires in its timed exclusivity, or maybe it never leaves exclusivity, most players eventually do not necessarily want to get interested. I mean, many people are not in a position to spend $600, $500 for the console, and then $70 for the game with tax and all of the above to eventually go ahead and play one single video game. I remember I made a video here on this channel a few weeks ago or a few days ago where I asked, would you pay $600 to play one video game? And all I kept getting were some ardent PlayStation fanboys who would not answer the darn question, continued to barrage me with all kinds of insults and all kinds of different dodgy, techniques that they could use, even though everybody was looking at the question like, okay, this question exposes the absurdity of what an exclusive is basically meant to provide, which is no value at all for the gamer. So I'm happy that we have Elden Ring, which has sold 20 plus million copies and has also sold in its DLC over 5 million copies in about a week, and is more than likely going to continue to move up because of the excitement that the game has already brought. And possibly if Hogwarts Legacy brings another DLC, they're more than likely going to even continue with that trend as well. And when you actually compare a game like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and look at its sales for, say, the time that the sales were captured, you're going to realize that, no, it's not impressive at all, simply because the game has no availability outside of the PlayStation platform. PlayStation has gotten what it wants out of this, but Square Enix did not. Square Enix thought they were going to be able to double dip, but that's a very hard thing to do. I mean, look at this IGN article. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth sales are fine, but it's no Dragon's Dogma 2. Well, that's because Dragon's Dogma 2 had what? Ladies and gentlemen, repeat after me. Availability. See? So this particular trend, to me, is not surprising why you're going to be seeing a lot of publishers starting to move and change. It's more than likely going to be AA indie devs that are going to be sticking with the exclusivity deals. I think maybe for their first or maybe first two games. But once they get their money and once they're very savvy and they dial in, they're going to go for availability. It's almost inevitable. I mean, nothing is sure, but you're going to see a very strong push where software sales are going to basically be what a lot of these gaming companies are going to be going for. But I thought I'd share my thoughts and with this particular issue at hand. And I'd love to hear yours in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching the video. Appreciate you guys' time and audience. Hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.